right here in your chapel. First, we have to introduce you to our amazing program staff. We have Dunham Murica Shirley. Second, we have Hunter Old Glory Davis. And last but certainly not least, we have the Star Spangled Anna.
Good morning, and welcome to our Friday morning celebration.
We hope you had a wonderful week. We've had fun, and we hope you have too.
We are really sad that you couldn't be here this week, but we're super grateful God let us bring camp to you.
And we even have more after this. We are going to our flagpole when we finish up this morning, horse devotion, and then we're going to hear a word from our camp manager.
And for those of you who are in 6th grade and are getting ready to move to the next level of Judson camps, stick around because we've got something for you.
And to wrap us up, we're going to be singing you a song and sending you, well, back home.
That's right. Remember, here at Judson and all across the world, God is working and
it's all good.
All right, everybody, we're fixing to do our pledges to our flags. We're going to begin with saying the word attention. Everybody will stand straight up and down, hands at their side. And we'll say salute. You'll take your right hand, place it over your heart. When we say pledge, we'll recite the pledge. We're going to do the American flag and then the Christian flag. Everybody ready? All right, attention. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll do our pledge to the Christian flag. Attention. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands, one brotherhood uniting all Christians in service and love.
Good job, guys. Have a great day at camp.
Hey guys, this is Brittany Mackin. I'm gonna do a little horse devotion with you guys today since, we're not getting to have camp, but I wanted to introduce the 3 horses that I work with a good bit. This is my personal mare, Stella. This is another little mare that we have here at camp. This is Whiskey. And then this is Surprise. Some of you may know her. She came from one of Miss Debbie Morris's mares, and her name is Surprise for a reason. But I wanted to talk about how important foundation is, and if you're my horse people, you understand how important a good foundation is for a horse. That sets the standard for probably the level of success that they will have moving forward in their career or riding possibilities. But let's look and see what the Bible says about foundation. So we'll turn to Matthew. We'll do Matthew 7:24 through 29. And it says, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a sensible man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the wind blew and pounded that house, yet it did not collapse, because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the wind blew and pounded that house, and it collapsed. And its collapse was great." When Jesus had finished this sermon, the crowds were astonished at his teachings, because he was teaching them like one who had authority and not like their scribes. So I feel like each one of these mares has had a different foundation, and Stella's being nosy over here. Stop. They all have a different foundation. I know Stella's foundation, and I know Surprise's foundation. Now, I don't know Whiskey's foundation. Stella was started in roping, and so she really knows how to move her body and use it very correctly. And she was started and was maintained in that foundation throughout her entire career, and I ride her on a regular basis. So her foundation should be very strong. Surprise was started by Josh Morris, Debbie's son. So I know that she has a good foundation. But Surprise has also been left out to pasture for several years. She has not been applying that foundation for most of her life. But the great thing that she does have a good foundation means that she will be able to pick up the knowledge that she gained from that first foundation, and she'll be able to be able to really move forward and excel at something because she has a good foundation. Whiskey, I don't know her foundation, but I do know that she gets in a hurry. She gets panicked and she stresses out. I don't feel like she was ever asked to do a whole lot. And when you ask for something new, she's hesitant and she's not real sure because she probably never had that really strong core foundation that's going to really set her up for success. Now, that does not mean that she can't be successful. That just means she's going to have to work a little harder, and she's going to have to put in a little more time and a little more effort to be where she is right now, to be able to move forward and be successful. So with where she is right now, I'm working on the things that she does know, but I'm also encouraging more from her and fine-tuning some more foundational applications for her life so that she can be successful. All three of these mares are great mares, and they have big personalities, and they are also all very opinionated, but they're very honest. You don't have to second guess what they're thinking or feeling that day. And I feel like that same application for us, when our house or in our heart is built on a solid foundation, and that foundation starts here and with a relationship with Jesus Christ, that's where you're going to set up your life for success, and you're going to be able to handle the things that are thrown at you and be able to rely on Jesus as that foundation and as your core, to be able to, like I said, succeed. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed staring at the pretty horses, because I do enjoy staring at them, and we guys miss you. Bye.
Hey guys, I hope that you've had a great time this week at virtual camp. We've had a lot of fun putting it together, and we're just excited that we were able to bring camp to you, at least in some way, this summer. We're looking forward to being able to do that in person next year, because we really have missed you guys. But I want to kind of wrap up what we've talked about all week and tie a nice little bow on top of all the Bible stories and everything that we've talked about. And I would even encourage you to sit down maybe with your parents or by yourself and go back and read through the full story of Joseph. There's so much information there in those last several chapters of Genesis about Joseph and his life that we just didn't have time to talk about in our Bible studies. But there's a lot of great information that you can check out on your own. But just to kind of recap what we've talked about, Joseph was one of the 12 sons of Jacob, and he was the favorite son. And as you remember, his brothers were very jealous of him because of that, including the fact that he'd gotten this very beautiful coat that his father had given him. And so the brothers were very jealous. And then Joseph decides to share some of the dreams that he had, which in hindsight might not have been the best option. That just made his brothers even more angry. And so they decided, we're going to throw him in a pit. In fact, they even decided they were going to kill him. But thankfully, there was an older brother there who decided that probably wasn't the best thing. But then they decided to sell him into slavery. And you heard the story about him being a slave in Egypt and how he worked in the house of Potiphar. And because of some things that went down there, he ended up in prison. And it would have been really easy for Joseph just to be like totally in despair at his situation there in prison. He spent 2 years there after he interpreted the dream of the Pharaoh's butler. And the butler forgot about him altogether. And for 2 years, he still sat there in prison. And it had been real easy to mope and be mad and upset. But Joseph just did what we're all supposed to do. He was obedient to God. He was faithful to God. And he just kept pressing on. And God blessed him because of that. And eventually, he had the opportunity to come and share the meaning of Pharaoh's dream, because the butler finally did remember him. And then because he was the only one in all of Egypt that could determine what that dream meant, and it wasn't even Joseph, it was God who told him what it meant, Joseph was put into a position of power. And in that position of power, he saved thousands of people as the famine hit in the second 7 years after the story of the two dreams. Joseph had put back all kinds of grain and food for the people, and was able to save people from not only Egypt, from all the surrounding areas. And that included not only his brothers, but his father as well. And so, it was neat to see that God was at work in all of those things to protect Joseph and his family. And you really begin to think about it, what's most important about this, when you look at our theme verse is Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. It says, "You meant this for evil, but God has made it all good. He has brought me to this position to save the lives of many." Joseph was telling his brothers that because he was brought to this position in Egypt by God to save all these people, including his family. But when you really begin to look at it from our standpoint, several thousand years later, we look at it and we see that God took Joseph and placed him in that position, not just to save his family, but to preserve God's promise that he would send a deliverer. And that deliverer was Jesus Christ. And Jesus came from the line of one of Joseph's brothers. He came from the line of Judah, one of the brothers that was saved because of the position that Joseph had been put in. And as we deal with all the confusion and chaos surrounding all the pandemic and all the stuff going on in the world today, all the unrest and everything that we see around us today, it's good to know that we have a God who is always at work. He is constantly working around us. Whether we see it or feel it, he's still working. In fact, I think that's a lyric of a pretty popular worship song right now, Waymaker. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. We can trust the fact that God is always at work around us. And what the great thing is that Romans chapter 8 tells us that he is always working for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, we have great hope even in times like this because we have a God who is working things out for our good and for his glory. Now, you may be here at virtual camp this week and maybe you've never surrendered your life to Jesus Christ. I want to know how he can make it all good in your life as well. The reality is that our lives apart from Christ, what we deserve is death and hell because we're sinners. That's what it tells us in Romans. And it also tells us in Romans that, but because of God's great love for us, he can make us alive in Christ Jesus because Jesus came and he died on the cross, taking all of our sin upon himself so that he could pay the penalty that we deserve, the punishment that we deserve for our sin. And he died on that cross and he was buried. On the third day, he rose again. And for those who confess with their mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in their hearts that God raised him from the dead, you can be saved. And what that means is that Jesus can make it all good. And he wants to make it all good in your life. So as we wrap up this week of camp, I want you to know we have really great news. The great news is that because of Jesus, we can say it's all good. God bless you. We love you guys. See you next year in 2021.
We hope you guys have enjoyed getting a little taste of camp at home. But one of the most disappointing things about the summer was knowing that several of our campers, this was going to be your last summer at camp, and we know you missed coming. So we just want to take a minute and we wanted to recognize those campers that will be graduating from boys camp and girls camp this summer. Cameron Brown, Abigail Klingcloth, Gracie Duplessis, Hannah Horton, Bryn Huey, Andrew Morrill, Emma Risponi, and Kyla Strickland. We really missed having you guys this summer. The good news is that we have something for you to look forward to next summer. Judson's Warrior Week is a camp designed for boys 7th through 12th grade, and it's going to focus on becoming a godly man. Our Bloom Camp is for girls that complete at 7th through 12th grade, and this is going to focus on boldly living obediently on mission. Both of these camps are very different and intentionally different than our boys camp and girls camp, and we really look forward to having you next year. To get a little preview of what next summer can hold for you, click on the link in the description of the video or the links in your email. We look forward to seeing you next summer.
Because of COVID-19, we could only meet on a screen. But next year will be great for pre-K and sleep late, the best summer you've ever seen. Come back, come back, come back, next year. Come back, come back, come back, next year. Even though Camp